Are all our desires meant to be explored and meaningful? How do we differentiate between the so-called good desires from our negative karma and our true inner soul's calling? Let's explore 4 different types of desires. There's a huge misunderstanding that all our desires are meaningful, especially the so-called good desires are meaningful and are meant to be explored. The problem is many do not know the difference between the desires that is from our ego or the desires from our past karma, past trauma, and our genuine inner soul's calling. Okay? So let's not demonize ego here. We are not going to demonize ego. Ego means what? False identity we have. Okay, identification with our thoughts. We think we are only the thoughts, the body and mind. Okay, there's a false identity. So there is a huge difference between the desires that stems from the ego and our true, genuine inner soul's calling. So we're going to explore 4 different types of desire. Number 1, the brainwashing desire. Brainwashing desire, what is it? Many of our desires and belief system is a byproduct of the influence of the society, family, parents, media, and friends. Many of those desires and beliefs do not belong to us. We have been brainwashed and have been influenced by the society, by the parents or the media to pursue certain type of career, certain type of life partners, certain type of lifestyles, certain type of material things. So those desires don't even belong to us. And we don't even realize that we have been brainwashed until someone does a deep self-inquiry, until someone has a huge self-awareness and spiritual awakening. Until then, many of us don't even realize that those beliefs and desires do not belong to us. We are simply desiring those things and pursuing those things relentlessly because we have been brainwashed and influenced by the society or our parents or the media or friends. And they don't even belong to us. If you go to any coach, they will question your desires. Why do you have such desires? There will be deep self-inquiry. Okay, so this desire is also something from the ego, and it's something that has been brainwashed by others. It doesn't belong to you. So we end up pursuing these things. We end up wasting our time pursuing certain things relentlessly and end up feeling unfulfilled. Some of us may face failure. Meanwhile, some others might face some success but end up feeling unfulfilled. And we waste our time and energy pursuing something that is not aligned with our higher self. Not all desires are from our higher self. Number 2, desires from our past trauma and unhealed emotional wounds. Our unhealed emotional wounds, our childhood issues, and our past trauma not necessarily abuse, great physical abuse, not necessarily. It could be emotional abuse, mental abuse, constantly being criticized of not being enough, good enough by the parents. Many different types of trauma or unhealed emotional wounds. It can influence the type of desire. For instance, many of us desire and seek for life partners who match our past trauma and unhealed emotional wounds. Have you seen people who are constantly seeking for their toxic ex-boyfriend or ex-girlfriend? or even if it's not related to X, they might subconsciously, people don't do it consciously, okay, subconsciously you will be drawn to a toxic person. You'll be drawn because these people were brought up by dysfunctional parents. For example, somebody who grew up in an environment where they were emotionally abandoned by a parent will subconsciously seek for a life partner who does the same to them. This also applies for friendship and career. Does not only apply for relationship. Okay? A person who has a limited belief system and unhealed emotional wound in their childhood related to their worth, related to their confidence, related to certain careers and related to money, the belief system related to money, end up desiring those things. Those childhood wounds, those limited beliefs influence their desires. For example, let's say there is a very talented child in science. The child is very interested in science, but this child grew up in an environment where the child was only surrounded by people who work in electric field or plumbing field. It could be electric engineers or electricians or plumbers or business in plumbing, related to plumbing industry. So if this child only grew up there, this child has been brainwashed and influenced to think that the only thing that the child can desire is to aspire a profession only related to those industry. So despite being a talented person in science, the child may refuse to aspire to be a scientist or any other profession related to science, because the child has been brainwashed. Okay, the child has some limited beliefs related to this profession. He believed that he was only meant to be someone who pursue a profession related to a plumbing or electric field. And this happened in real life. This is inspired from real life, where the boy was interviewed, and the boy just wanted to pursue a profession in one of this field only, despite being so good in science. So when they asked the child, why don't you aspire for some other profession related to science, he said that no, I'm always surrounded by only people who are experts related to plumbing and electrics. So that is what I desire. This is inspired from true incident. So do you see how the limited belief system, okay, from your unhealed emotional wounds in your childhood, it influences you. It influences your desire. This person doesn't even desire to be in a profession related to science, despite being very good at it. But does this serve his highest good? No, not necessarily. Am I right? Number 3, desires from our inner void, our inner emptiness. When someone feels void within themselves, empty within themselves, lots of desires will stem from that inner void, leading people to settle for less in relationship and career, engaging with people who don't have our best interests at heart, getting involved in illegal activities like taking drugs. All are desires. These are all desires. Have you seen some people, they allow themselves to be treated as a doormat by their life partner, and they constantly seek friends or life partner who will treat them like a doormat. It's a desire. They desire for such partners. So this desire springs from inner void, inner emptiness. Now the last one is what we call as the intuition, inner calling, your soul's calling, your higher self's calling. Your inner calling and desires stemming from your intuition is different from the common desires from ego. Your inner calling is a calling from your higher self, from your true self, and it's your dharma, it's your swadharma. It's very different. For example, somebody's inner calling might be to be famous, related to certain profession, and they will have this strong inner calling to be famous and attract the attention of mass audience related to certain profession. But at the same time, not everyone who desire fame is following their inner calling. Not everyone who desire fame, who have these desires to be famous, is from their higher self. Many people, they desire fame, okay, they desire fame out of greed, or to get validation from others, or to simply just earn lots of money. So it depends, okay. It's very challenging to differentiate between both unless you have a very high self-awareness. Many struggle to differentiate between inner calling and desires that stem from ego. When I say desires that stem from ego, it could be a so-called good desires. The so-called good desires may not be aligned with our true selves. So you need to have high self-awareness. In order to have high self-awareness, we need to do lots of meditation, lots of inner work, emotional healing, healing our past trauma, deep self-inquiry. And many things related to self-awareness, raising your self-awareness and understanding yourself, understanding why are you doing certain things, why do you do certain things, doing deep self-inquiry. Okay, so when you do all this work, or one of these work, especially inner work, and align yourself and to your true self and tap into the divinity within yourself, you will be able to distinguish the difference between desires from ego and your inner calling, your genuine inner calling. So not all desires are meaningful or meant to be explored, even if they appear to be good. On the surface level, the desire that doesn't serve our highest good might look very similar to our inner calling, but both are totally opposite of each other. Just now when I gave you the fame as an example, see, many people they look at fame as something bad. We shouldn't desire fame. Some spiritual people, we shouldn't desire. But sometimes it is that person's inner calling to attract the attention of mass audience. That's their higher calling. So even though fame seem to be like a negative desire, so-called negative desire, but if that is your inner calling, then you have to pursue it. But at the same time, not everybody who desires fame are following their calling. Am I right? So there are many different types of desires and inner calling. I hope this had helped you to realize the difference between inner calling and desires from ego. Nothing is wrong with ego. It's about understanding our ego. Okay? So let me know what you think about this topic. And tell me, do you know how to differentiate between your inner calling and desires? Let me know about it. Thank you.